I went through a fast food restaurant the other day, and the greasy kid behind the counter says, "Can I take your order?" So I look him dead in the eyes, and I say, "No, I'm here for the scenery." Luke. So I look him dead in the eyes, and I say, "No, I'm here for the scenery." Jimmy. Oh, hold on. Okay, you should be good. Should be good. Thank you. So I look him dead in the eyes, and I say, "Really, Jimbo? Sorry. Slip of the finger, slip of the finger." Go ahead. So I look him dead in the eyes and I say, "No, I'm here for the scenery." Hello, and welcome to the Regal Mystery Movie Review. Today's movie played on May 20th, 2024, and the movie was Ezra. Divorced stand-up comedian Max Bernal struggles to co-parent his autistic son Ezra with his ex-wife Jenna. When forced to confront difficult decisions about the boy's future, Max instead runs off with Ezra and they embark on a cross-country road trip, filled with struggles, successes, and the FBI.
Rated R.
This is one of those movies where the trailer shows you the entire plot, so do yourself a favor and don't watch that. Though the movie's rather formulaic and predictable anyway. The only surprise to me is that it wasn't as heartwarming as I thought it was going to be. The movie stars Bobby Cannavale as Max, father of Ezra. He is a struggling stand-up comedian, but he has the opportunity to be on the late-night television show Jimmy Kimmel Live. Now, I just have to say that Max is one of the least likable characters I have seen in a movie in a very long time. He was an utterly obnoxious and miserable person throughout the film. But Bobby did a great job bringing this character to life. Maybe a little too good of a job. Rose Byrne plays Jenna, ex-wife to Max and mother of Ezra. She's Ezra's main caretaker, juggling his needs with her real estate job. But she also has to put up with Max and his lack of effort. She's protective of Ezra, maybe a little too protective though. She wants what's best for Ezra, but isn't entirely sure what that is. She often has to rely on the advice of counselors who may or may not have Ezra's best interests in mind. She was also dating Bruce, a very smarmy lawyer who was played by the director of the movie, Tony Goldwyn. Ezra is played by William A. Fitzgerald, and this is his first movie role ever, and he does a phenomenal job of bringing the character to life. William does have autism in real life as well. This was a very important casting choice because it brings a sense of realism to the movie. He was allowed to flourish on set, and the movie is better for it. Rounding out the main cast is Robert De Niro, who plays Grandpop, or Pop-Pop, or Stan. His character is a bit of a standard emotionally stunted boomer who has very strong opinions about parenting, despite not being a very good parent himself. But he is very kind and loving to Ezra. De Niro delivers another solid performance, even showing a little extra vulnerability that I wasn't expecting. And here's a fun fact for you, Robert De Niro is 80 years old, and he has a 1-year-old daughter. There are also some good supporting characters and cameos, folks like Rainn Wilson, Whoopi Goldberg, Vera Farmiga, and Jimmy Kimmel. The dark cloud that hangs over this movie is the character of Max, played by Bobby Cannavale. I simply couldn't stand him for about 85% of the movie. Almost every action he takes is motivated by his own selfishness. For example, Max and Ezra get dressed up to go to a movie showing, and Jenna gives him very specific instructions to be home before curfew. But Max can't help himself, and instead takes Ezra to a comedy club and doesn't bring him home till after midnight. The blatant disregard for Ezra and his ex-wife's rules perfectly personify the type of man that he is. Going to the comedy club benefits him more than going to the movie with his son. The character of Max is so deeply flawed that it was impossible for me to root for him throughout the movie. He very obviously needed a lot of therapy, but of course he would never do that. Max has violent outbursts, which often results in quite a few physical altercations. One of which gets a restraining order against him from his family, preventing him from seeing Ezra. There were some moments sprinkled throughout the movie where it seemed Max was making progress with his struggles. But those moments were fleeting, and he quickly takes an axe to that growth. I personally found it to be quite tiring. The plot suffered immensely from all these false starts, and the characters around them seemed just as frustrated. Now, I understand this was probably the character design that the filmmakers wanted, but as a viewer, it made the movie sadder and more frustrating. Now, Max does have some very, very minimal growth near the end of the movie. To me, this growth is the literal bare minimum that he could have, and it's too little too late. The plot of this movie is a little all over the place and not very realistic. As shown in the trailer, Max takes Ezra on an impromptu road trip without the permission of Jenna. In the eyes of the law, that is considered kidnapping, especially with the aforementioned restraining order. What I did like was that the movie didn't try to sugarcoat this whole situation. We were shown how law enforcement and child protective services got involved. It was a good juxtaposition between the feel-good road trip that Max was trying to portray and the real legal ramifications. Along the way, while dodging police checkpoints, we meet some great supporting characters who show a little more compassion than they probably should to a man who just kidnapped his child. Though they probably aren't privy to all the underlying details. The end goal for Max was to reach LA for a taping of the Jimmy Kimmel Show. I find it a little hard to believe that the producers and casting directors didn't hear anything about this whole kidnapping situation. The audience is shown full news reports of the situation, complete with pictures and full names. I would think that somebody at Jimmy Kimmel's show would see this and report Max's scheduled appearance to the proper authorities, but they don't. It didn't make any sense to me. The final conclusion of the film, which I won't spoil, felt so unsatisfying to me. I didn't feel like the consequences made any sense, and that the final growth that Max has felt so unnatural to the character that we've been watching. Now, this movie is labeled as a comedy drama, but personally I found it to be more on the dramatic side. Max is a stand-up comedian, so naturally the movie's going to show some of his comedy sets. For me, I found zero humor in his jokes. Most of the jokes felt tired and flat. That's not to say the movie is completely devoid of comedy. There are some lighthearted moments between characters. Ezra also brings the comedy with his quick one-liners and his movie quotes that always fit the situation. However, I was once again disappointed in my fellow moviegoers. There were some jokes or statements made at the expense of Ezra, mainly about his autism in the movie. Now, these are not meant to be funny. In fact, the movie does a really good job of avoiding that. But for some reason, some viewers fully laughed at him. I was genuinely shocked, and I let out an audible groan. Ugh. Overall, it's obvious that this movie was handcrafted to give you an intimate and honest representation of autism. William A. Fitzgerald, who plays Ezra, is autistic himself, as is associate producer Alex Plank. I have read some articles about how the film set was open, healthy, and accessible for everyone. I hope that this becomes an industry standard. Ezra is treated as a real character and not a caricature. The film shows the parental struggles of trying to conform to societal norms and embracing the different. While some people have a desire to give normalcy to their child, others embrace the uniqueness of their child. This endeavor is on full display throughout the film. It's one of the most heartwarming aspects of the story. Unfortunately, the character of Max is just too stunted, and he drags down all of these moments. And for these reasons, I am giving the Regal Mystery Movie Ezra a mild 5.5 out of 10. While I admire the love and honesty that the filmmakers poured into this movie, the character of Max was just so poorly written and bogged down the entire film. So, did you see Ezra? If so, leave your heckles in the comedy comment section down below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep me booked on late night television. Thanks, you guys have been amazing! Alright!